What if I told you trying to be a good person might be the very thing that's ruining your life? Niccolò Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to make you liked. He wrote it to show you the brutal truth. Power respects clarity, not kindness. The more you try to please everyone, the more invisible you become, and the more you bend to appear good, the more the world learns to bend you. Let's get this straight: goodness without strength is not virtue. It's weakness dressed in morality. Machiavelli taught that it's better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Why? Because those who chase approval often get betrayed by those they tried hardest to please. If you're tired of being overlooked, disrespected, or manipulated, it's time to stop seeking to be liked and start seeking to be respected. Right now, you're at war, and your biggest enemy is the version of you still trying to be soft, so others feel comfortable. But the world doesn't reward comfort, it rewards conviction. So if you're ready to stop apologizing for your strength, like this video, subscribe if you're done playing nice, and comment below, "I choose clarity over approval." If you believe that kindness alone will protect you, you're wrong. If you think being good is enough to guarantee you respect, love, or safety in this world, forget it. This world doesn't reward purity. It rewards perception, power, and presence. And in that game, those who cling blindly to goodness without awareness are often the first to be broken. This message is not for those who are seeking comfort. It's not for people who want the world to coddle their innocence or reassure them that being nice will be enough. This is for you, the ones who are exhausted from constantly being the peacemaker, the forgiver, the one who keeps things together while quietly falling apart. You've worn the mask of the good person so long that you forgot it was a mask, and now you're suffocating beneath it. Being good has become your emotional prison, a prison lined not with chains, but with expectations. Be agreeable, avoid conflict, say yes even when your soul screams no. And somewhere along the way, you convinced yourself that this was virtue, that suppressing your anger was maturity, that neglecting your own needs was compassion. But here's the truth. A person who constantly denies their own boundaries is not kind. They're collapsing. Carl Jung called this collapse the rebellion of the shadow. The persona, he argued, is the face we wear to gain approval from society. But every mask has a cost. Behind the image of the pleasant, giving, endlessly forgiving person lies the shadow: your rage, your pride, your unmet desires. The more you deny it, the louder it becomes, not in words, but in exhaustion, anxiety, resentment. And the worst part, you don't even know you're angry. You just know you're tired and invisible. You were taught from childhood, be good, but what they really meant was, be small, be convenient, be quiet. This is not virtue, it's social conditioning. The behaviors that once earned you approval as a child: obedience, self-sacrifice, silence, now sabotage your adulthood. You've been trained to please, not to lead, to serve, not to assert. And while your soul longs for freedom, your habits cling to validation. Think about it. How often have you said yes when you meant no? How many times have you swallowed your truth to keep the peace? And how many people in your life respect you, or just find you useful? Let this be the moment you begin to wake up. Because being good without boundaries is not morality, it's martyrdom. And no one builds a meaningful life on silent suffering. Today, you will see that reclaiming your truth doesn't mean becoming harsh. It means becoming whole. The journey begins when you stop asking, "How can I make them happy?" and start asking, "What do I need to stop betraying myself?" This is your call to stop begging for kindness from a world that takes and never sees the cost. You don't need to be louder. You need to be real. You need to be sovereign. Jung said that only when we integrate the shadow, those rejected parts of ourselves, do we become whole. And wholeness, not compliance, is your path to power. So if you've been that person always understanding, always forgiving, always available, know this: your silence may be praised, but your truth will set you free. Behind every good person is a silenced self. Jung's warning. The world applauds the good person, the one who's agreeable, patient, selfless. But Carl Jung would caution, every persona, the public face we wear, casts a shadow, and the brighter the persona, the darker the shadow behind it. The good person is often not born from virtue, but from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being seen as selfish, fear of not being loved unless they're useful. It's a survival mask, built over time through praise and punishment. As children, many of us were taught that compliance equals love. Be quiet, be nice, don't talk back. These weren't suggestions, they were conditioning. And with each obedient response, our authentic emotions, anger, sadness, desire, were quietly exiled into the unconscious. That is the birthplace of the shadow. In Jungian terms, the shadow is the collection of traits we repress to fit into society. It holds our raw humanity, our rage, our hunger for freedom, our need to say no. But when these parts are rejected for too long, they don't disappear. They leak out through burnout, passive aggression, relationship dissatisfaction. You give and give until you collapse and then wonder why no one gives back. Modern psychology confirms this. What looks like people-pleasing is often a defense mechanism rooted in social anxiety and low self-worth. The individual places their entire sense of value in how others perceive them. This is called contingent self-esteem, and it's fragile. When your worth depends on external validation, every no feels like a threat. Every conflict feels like abandonment. So you keep performing goodness, even when it rots your inner life. This is where Jung's concept of individuation becomes critical. Individuation is the process of becoming whole, not by being perfect, but by integrating the rejected parts of the self. For the good person, this means facing the uncomfortable truth. You're not always nice. You don't always want to help. And sometimes you're furious at the world for not seeing your pain. Acknowledging this is not regression, it's liberation. It's the first act of reclaiming your authenticity. Even Machiavelli, often misread as a cold manipulator, understood this principle in his own way. In The Prince, he wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Social success requires an image, but psychological health demands inner congruence. A strong persona can open doors, but if it comes at the cost of your truth, those doors become cages. Being kind isn't the problem. Being addicted to approval is. The true danger is not in giving, but in giving yourself away." So ask yourself, is your kindness a choice or a compulsion? Because if you never let people see your anger, your disappointment, your needs, then they don't love you. They love your performance. And the longer you play that role, the more you lose touch with the one person you can never afford to abandon, yourself. When kindness becomes self-betrayal, the myth that keeps you small, we've been sold a beautiful lie, that if you're kind, the world will be kind in return, that if you love purely, others will match your energy. But this is projection, not reality. It's the dangerous hope that people will mirror your goodness, when in truth, most mirror their needs. To be naive is not to be pure, it is to be unprepared. Naivety says, if I'm good, I will be safe. But that belief ignores human complexity. People don't always act from fairness. They act from survival, fear, and self-interest. And if your version of goodness is blind, you become easy to exploit. You're not respected, you're used. Kindness, in its naive form, is passive. It avoids confrontation, says yes out of guilt, and clings to a fantasy that harmony can be bought with self-erasure. But true kindness, real, conscious kindness, is powerful. It knows how to say no. It knows when to walk away. It understands that enabling dysfunction is not love, it's avoidance. This is where we draw a critical line between goodness that is reactive and goodness that is chosen. When you are reactive, you give because you fear rejection. You stay silent because you fear conflict. You suppress your truth because you fear being seen as difficult. This is not love. This is fear wearing the mask of virtue. Philosophers like Schopenhauer remind us of the will, the primal, unconscious drive for survival and dominance that shapes human behavior. He was brutally honest. Much of what we call kindness is actually negotiation. It's a silent hope that our sacrifices will be repaid. But when that doesn't happen, bitterness follows. You become invisible not because the world is cruel, but because you never taught it how to see you. Let's be clear, kindness without strength is not morality. It's a trap. Real kindness, the kind that transforms, requires the courage to be disliked. It demands you face discomfort, hold the line, and sometimes let others feel the weight of your boundaries. This is what Jung referred to when he spoke of individuation, the merging of light and shadow. To be whole is not to be sweet, it is to be sovereign, to act not from fear of disapproval, but from conscious choice. So next time you feel guilty for saying no, remember, that's not cruelty. That's self-respect growing its roots. True kindness is not self-sacrifice, it's self-alignment. And until you make peace with your right to walk away, you'll forever be a prisoner of your desire to be loved. From pleasing to power, how saying no sets you free. There comes a moment quiet, piercing when your soul whispers, enough, enough pretending, enough overextending, enough performing peace for those who thrive on your silence. This is not burnout. This is the awakening of someone who finally realizes pleasing others is not the same as living freely. For years, you may have thought your role was to be agreeable, to soothe conflict, to hold back so others could shine. You wore that role like armor, but inside, a storm brewed, not of anger, but of disconnection. You smiled through betrayals, nodded through disrespect, and slowly, your identity withered under the weight of who you thought you were supposed to be. Jung called this emotional entrapment a crisis of individuation. When we lose contact with the self in order to maintain our place in society, we become shells performing goodness while dying inside. It's not just unhealthy, it's a psychological exile, a prison with invisible bars. But here's the good news. Every prison has a key, and it's not found in louder apologies or better behavior. It's in the word no. No is not rejection, it is resurrection. When you say no to what drains you, you say yes to your soul. You redraw the lines of your life. And yes, people will resist, especially those who benefited from your silence. They'll accuse you of being cold, selfish, even cruel. But don't confuse their discomfort with your wrongdoing. Their discomfort is proof that the dynamic has shifted, that you are no longer willing to be consumed to keep others comfortable. This is where emotional discipline meets existential courage. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to understand yourself so deeply that no one else's confusion can shake you. The Stoics knew this. Epictetus wrote, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life." But he didn't mean external freedom. He meant internal sovereignty, the kind that arises when your sense of self is no longer up for negotiation. This doesn't mean becoming harsh. It means becoming whole. It means walking away from roles that asked you to shrink. It means being real, even when realness costs you approval. It means choosing your own sanity over someone else's comfort. And slowly, your life begins to change. Not because others treat you better, but because you do. You stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for your standards. You stop waiting for permission to take up space. And what happens next is subtle but powerful. The people who remain begin to meet you at your level, not out of fear, but out of respect. So the next time you feel the urge to soften your truth, ask yourself, am I preserving peace or betraying myself? Again, because your no might be the first step toward a life you actually chose. Stop begging to be seen. Choose freedom over approval. This is where it all comes together, not in theory, not in abstraction, but in your next decision. Will you keep being the reliable one who never asks for anything, the quiet fixer, the emotional sponge for everyone else's chaos? Or will you finally stop negotiating for your worth? Too many people live in what Jung called an emotional prison without realizing it. They confuse survival for peace. They confuse absence of conflict with love. But peace that costs your authenticity is just silence in disguise. It's not harmony. It's self-erasure. You've been taught to equate love with self-abandonment, that if you just stay kind enough, patient enough, giving enough, someone will finally give back. But that's not love. That's spiritual bargaining, and you already know how that story ends, with resentment, loneliness, and invisible pain. So here's the truth, raw and unfiltered. You are not here to be everyone's comfort. You are here to live with intention. Existentialist Jean-Paul Sartre said, "Man is condemned to be free," meaning there's no divine script to follow, no cosmic checklist of what makes you good. You create meaning through your choices. Every time you say yes out of fear, you abandon yourself. Every time you hold back your truth to protect someone else's illusion, you reject your own existence. But the opposite is also true. When you speak up, when you walk away, when you protect your space, you reclaim your power. You stop living in reaction. You start living with direction. This video isn't about turning you into someone hard or indifferent. It's about turning you into someone real, someone no longer waiting to be loved for their silence, but respected for their presence. And yes, there will be a cost. Some people will fall away, some dynamics will break, but what remains, what grows in that space, will be truth. And truth is worth everything. Today is not about changing others. It's about remembering that you were never meant to beg for belonging. You were meant to belong to yourself first. So take that first breath of freedom, draw your boundary, reclaim your fire, because no one else will do it for you, and no one else can take it away once it's yours. You are not here to be tolerated. You are here to be whole. You came here thinking you needed to be better liked, more agreeable, more good. Now you know the truth. Trying to be good in everyone's eyes will cost you your soul. Machiavelli's lesson was never to become cruel. It was to become strategic. Don't let guilt be your guide. Let reality be, because in the end, the man who is respected can shape outcomes, but the man who is merely liked becomes a pawn in someone else's game. You are not here to be a martyr. You are here to master yourself and the world around you. So if this shifted your mindset, like this video, subscribe to sharpen your inner edge, and comment below. I'd rather be respected than liked. Stay sharp. Stay dangerous. Good men follow rules. Wise men write them.